many people want to hear this, but the true way to build wealth through investing isn't by tracing the hype stocks or trying to find the next big thing. It is simply by investing into high quality companies that produce a lot of free cash flow and that are highly profitable. Now, there seems to be this narrative online, especially, amongst younger people who are very impressionable and, think, they can make £1,000 a day by investing like £100 a month somehow. But that is just not very realistic. Real, true long-term wealth is built by investing a portion of your income every single month. Most people try and aim for around 10 to 20%, but even 5% just to get into the habit of investing is a good start. Then you could either go down the ETF route. This is someone who wants a more passive approach, who doesn't really want to, check the stock market every single day or, do research into individual stocks and would rather just, put 10 to 20% of the income into something such as a diversified index fund, such as, the FTSE All World, which contains around 5,000 of the largest companies from all around the world. So it means you're diversified across many countries, many sectors and many companies. But if you are someone who wants to have more of an active approach and actually enjoys looking into the fundamentals of stocks, trying to find good deals, then obviously you can invest into individual stocks. Now, I actually think there is probably only a limited amount of high quality companies that I personally would invest into. And I've been investing into the stock market now for over 5 years. So I had my beginner mistakes where, back in 2020, when I was buying into, the hype stocks back then. And looking back now in hindsight, a lot of those hype stocks, worth basically, pennies or, compared to where they were before, they're just down like 80, 90%. So I think, you have to go through that learning curve and it's part of the investing journey. But in reality, the amount of high quality companies, that compound over time are actually very small and slim. So the investing method that I use is invest into high quality companies that are highly profitable with wide economic moats, which basically means they have little to no competition. So just a few examples of this are Google, Amazon, American Express, MasterCard, Visa, ASML, companies like this, basically companies that are just really hard to replicate or, are leaders within their industry. Now, of course, by investing into these companies doesn't guarantee that you will outperform the S&P 500, but I feel like, they just have a history of compounding over time, which basically means they've been growing every single year or nearly every single year. Obviously, nothing can go just straight up. There has to be some kind of correction. So, just companies that are high quality, that just keep on growing and have a history of doing it. Now, of course, past performance isn't necessarily an indication of the future, but if a company is continuing to grow fast and is innovating and is doing well and is, expanding the margins, maybe paying a dividend, producing a lot of free cash flow, then these can all be positive signs. Now, yes, you're not going to get quick overnight by investing this way. Maybe you could get lucky by putting £1,000 into a certain stock and, over the space of a year, luckily it turns into 10,000. But that kind of investing is not sustainable at all. But I think with a small account of around 5 to 10 stocks, you can definitely outperform the S&P 500. If you found this video useful or want to see more finance videos, make sure to follow my page and double tap the screen.